welcome back to Chocolate Covered Pages. I'm Kiona, and recently I got a comment from a subscriber, and they were saying, I don't know how y'all be reading these long books, I can't do it. And to that I say, you just need to find the right book, and I'm here with a few of my favorite big books in different genres, so hopefully I have something for everybody, because y'all know how I do. I be reading all over the place. So let's get into the video. Alright, so before I get into the list, I just want to say that anybody can read a big book. I have seen the little TikTok videos like, what is the reason for all these pages? I don't want to know that bad. Is it ever that serious? Yeah, I've seen the little memes. It's cute or whatever, but there's nothing like reading a big book, and the big book is hitting so good that you don't want it to end. You done read 800 pages and you still want more. And I feel like it really depends on you as a person and your specific reading taste. You cannot go picking up a 600 page fantasy, and you know damn well you don't really rock with fantasy like that. What are you doing? What are you doing? That is not going to be for you. I don't care how popular it is. I don't care how other people feel about it. If you don't mess with fantasy like that, you just don't. But if you like, I don't know, historical fiction instead, then maybe you need to pick up a long historical fiction, and then it's probably going to work out better in your favor. So I'm here. I got a few different genres, and hopefully I'm gonna make some long book lovers out of y'all, because y'all need to be reading. Y'all are missing out. I'm telling you right now, y'all are missing out, because these long books, I be feeling so accomplished. I really be feeling so accomplished. Like, you ever be reading, for the people that actually already like long books, right? I'm talking to y'all now. You ever be reading a long book and you've been reading this book for so long, you feel like you one of the characters? Like, I have had that feeling, like when I feel like I'm reading a historical fiction, like family saga or whatever. I feel like I'm one of the sisters but I'm just watching. I don't have no lines or nothing. I'm there. I'm there. I just don't got no lines. I'm the silent sister, right? Like, that's how I be feeling when I'm deep in these long books, and I want that for y'all. Now, what is considered a big book? That's number one. In my opinion, is any book that's over 500 pages. I would consider that to be a big book. Okay. So we are going to go from some of the lower ones, and then we're gonna get higher and higher, okay? Alright, so let's start with this one. This book is clocking in at 544 pages, and that's gonna be Age of Vice by Deepti Kapoor. This book is definitely an epic. We follow 3 characters. The book is broken up into the 3 sections for the characters. It is going through a series of events, but it is also showing us for each character what their point of view was during these events. Now, normally I'm not a fan of that, but the way Deepti Kapoor does it, it does not feel repetitive. There is something new in each person's perspective. You just get a little bit more of the story each time. A little bit more of the story. What this person was thinking. What this person was actually doing in the background, while character number 1 had no idea. You know what I mean? Okay, so let me tell you about this book. This book starts off with a horrible car crash, and when the car door is open to find out who was driving this vehicle, that done went up on the sidewalk and caused all types of mayhem. We find out the guy who is driving the car is a guy named Ajay. And then we begin to get Ajay's point of view and his story. And when the story starts off, Ajay is extremely poor, but the car that he is found driving is a very expensive Mercedes. So we are going through Ajay's point of view, trying to figure out how did he end up. First of all, he's in New Delhi in this vehicle. We're trying to find out how did he even get in New Delhi, because that's not where he's from. He grows up in an entirely different area that is very poor, okay? And the book kicks off from there. And when I tell you, this book was such a surprise for me. This was one of the most shocking books that I read, not last year, the year before. And I could not stop reading this. I cannot wait until book 2 comes out, because there was so much in this book that I just wasn't expecting. There are think mafia movies, Indian gangsters. I mean, they're in the background pulling a lot of strings. We also meet a guy named Sunny, and Sunny's father is an extremely powerful man in New Delhi, and so is his uncle. The story that is in these pages is, I would say, for anyone that just loves, like, the storytelling in this one, to me, is top notch. And for me to read a book this long, you have to be able to keep the story going. And I want to tell you, there was no part of this book that I was bored. There was not one part where I was bored. And I didn't even have an audio for this. Honestly, I didn't have an audio for most of the books that are on this list, and I did not mind. I will say that I do, when it's long, I like to do a little bit of both. A little bit of reading with my eyes, a little bit of listening, a little bit of immersive reading at the same time. But this one, I had the advanced ebook version, so I was just like, oh, you know, let me just check it out. You know, I would love to know, like, what is this book about? And when I tell you, I cannot stop reading this book. So yes, if that sounds good to you, definitely put this one on your list. Okay, so the next one I'm going to talk about will be no surprise to anyone that has been watching this channel. So I'm actually going to keep this one fairly quick, because I've definitely talked about this book before. It's going to be The Reformatory by Tananarive Due, and this is a horror novel. This is a historical fiction horror novel. In this story, we are following Robert and his older sister Gloria. They both live in the South. Their father has been accused of raping a white woman, so he's had to flee, and their mom passed away. So they are now pretty much on their own. They're living with a family friend, but you know, they're just kind of very much on their own for the most part. Right, so one day they're walking, and one of their neighbor, who's a white kid, he's around the same age as Gloria, he, you know, tries to like make a pass at Gloria. Robert didn't like that, so he defends his sister, and someone sees him doing it, and they immediately lock him up. He is now sent to this, it's supposed to be a boys' school. It's more of like a jail for the boys, and terrible things are happening at this place. There are also these ghosts that are walking around the school because terrible things have happened to them, but apparently no one else can see them but Robert. A lot of things go on in this book that are, I will say, hard to read. This is one of the books on this list that I had to take breaks from because it was just a lot. So please know that going into this one, that, you know, it is long, and it is going to be worth it in the end for you to finish this book, because it is written very well. Tana Reeve do, she just knows what she's doing, right? She just knows how to tell a story. But obviously you have to take care of your own mental health, okay? This one is clocking in at 576 pages. I was reading this one while also reading something else that was very like upbeat and fun, and like, okay, now I can get back to this. Like, I cannot read the Reformatory by itself. I would have been in such a crappy mood. Like, no. Keep that in mind if you decide to pick this one up. So now I'm going to talk about the only nonfiction on this list that is clocking in at 622 pages, and that's going to be The Warmth of Other Suns by Isabel Wilkerson. I absolutely love this book. Oh my god, it's so heavy. I absolutely love this book so much, okay? I didn't know what to expect when I picked this one up, because it is quite daunting. It's quite daunting because, first of all, nonfiction alone is just like, ooh, child. But and then you see the page count, it's definitely like, oh, ain't nobody got time for that. But you do. You need to make time for this one, because this book is about the Great Migration. But this is narrative nonfiction. We are following 3 individuals that decide, you know what, I have had enough of the South and how I'm being treated, how my family is being treated, that every time I turn around, I got to be, you know, yes sir, and just really just, you know, constantly looking over my shoulder and walking on eggshells. And they was tired of this. They was so tired of it. So they left, which is how we ended up getting the Great Migration. Now, what is so beautiful about this book and the way it's written is that you feel like you are reading historical fiction. You do. You do. Because we are getting each of these people's actual story. What is going on in their family? What has happened to lead up to them having to leave? The point in which they leave. You know, we're wondering the whole time, like, what is going to happen? Are they going to make it? You know, this is just so good. You know, the way Isabel Wilkerson has written these people's story, the amount of care that she has taken in writing their stories is just, it's unmatched. And I do need to recast. I need to read it. I know it's been on my list. It's been on my list. But yes, this, especially if you're already a nonfiction person and nobody have to beat you over the head to read nonfiction, you definitely want. You see, I gotta hold it with 2 hands because it's so it's so heavy. So the next book is clocking in at 625 pages, and this one is The Ncks by Nathan Hill. This book took me entirely by surprise because I really didn't know what to expect. I was like, what does that mean, The Ncks? I didn't know what to expect from this book, but this is another case of me turning to the first page and not being able to stop turning the pages. This is about a guy named Samuel, and Samuel is I think he's a high school teacher, but he's also a writer, but he is having a hard time. Okay, his editor, is it his editor or his agent, is on his butt. One of them, they on his butt like, yo, I need this book. And then he is just like, I don't know, I got nothing, right? And then one day he's watching the news and he sees his mom. His mom walked out on him when he was a kid. That is the last time he saw this woman. And then next thing you know, he sees her on the TV throwing rocks at a political candidate. So he gets the bright idea that, you know what? I got it. I am going to find her and I'm going to write this book about her. It's going to be like a tell-all biography. Like, I'm going to write this book about her. But first, I got to find her. I got to go where she's at. So, he goes... Now, mind you, this book is set in the 1960s. So, he goes on this journey to find his mother. And the book kicks off from there. This book is so hilarious. Like, it's just funny. It's just a different type of humor where it's just like I was highly impressed with Nathan Hill because I didn't know what to expect. I really did not. And I was just like so impressed the entire time because I was like, I can't stop reading this book. And this is not even the type of book that I would typically be reading, but I literally cannot stop reading this book, and it's so long, but it's so good. So it's historical fiction. Put that on your list if you want. It's definitely the type of book where you're going on a journey. He's meeting people because obviously he's trying to find his mom, and he got to talk to people. There's lots of different things going on. Like, it's just a good book. Honestly, it's just a good book. Okay, so the next book is going to be a fantasy, but this one is actually, this is my sneaky way of trying to get y'all to read this series, because this is actually the last and final book in the series, and that's going to be Jade Legacy by Fonda Lee. If you have not read Jade City, I'm clearly not doing my job here. I have talked about Jade City a million times on this channel. So it is called the Greenbone Saga, and it is 3 books in the series, and that is it. There are a few like companion novellas, but that's pretty much all they are. It is literally just the 3 books in a series. It's Jade City, then it's Jade War, and then this is the last one, Jade Legacy. And as you can see, it is so long, but when I tell you, it's like the series gets longer and longer and longer. But when I tell you that the way this series is, it just, every time you think the series can't get any better, it just gets better. Like, she just continues to raise the bar on her writing, and as far as just pushing it, just really pushing it to where you like, well, how far can we go? Like, and this book was just, as far as a conclusion to a fantasy series, it was everything that I wanted and needed it to be. Okay, we got some flashes forward and everything. I literally have no complaints. And when I tell you the 6 stars for this one, because I had nothing. It was literally like a mic drop. That's what this book is. So obviously you have to read Jade City first, as you should, because it is so freaking good. Okay, if you are a fantasy lover, if you want to be a fantasy lover, this is another series where it feels very mafia-like, because there are different clans in this series. We have you know, a magic system that is involving Jade. So, and then only certain people have the ability to have the jade in their body, and it gives them, you know, like a certain amount of power. Like, it's just so good. There's just so many parts of this series that you're gonna laugh, you're gonna want to cry. Like, it's just so much. This is honestly one of my favorite fantasy series. Okay, the next book on this list is clocking in at 768, and it is one of the longest urban fiction books I have ever read, and that's going to be Demon's Dream by Ncks. So this one is like urban fiction, urban romance, just so you know. We meet a woman named Dream, and her brother has offended a very powerful man by taking his daughter. Not taking her, but she wanted to be taken. By getting her pregnant, right? And secretly going and getting married or whatever. So now this very powerful man is like, you know what? Okay, you got a sister. I'm taking your sister, and I want your sister to be with my brother, and he could do whatever he want with her for how long was it? I think it was like 60 days or something like that. And in comes Demon. Demon is the brother, and the book pretty much kicks off from there. When I tell you that Demon, you know when they say though, you know, like, oh, unhinged, they call these bookmen unhinged. Demon is probably one of the most unhinged male characters I've ever come across. What Demon's job is in the family business is to kill people. It is what he does. He's a scary person. He is somebody that you do not want to see at the end of the alley, because once you see him, you know it's over for you. It's a wrap, okay? So nobody wants to see Demon coming. And even though Dream sees him as a little bit scary, there's still a part of her that's like, but he kind of fun though. Like, even though he is kind of scary, I fear for my life a little bit, but you know, I like how he looking at me. So like, it's it's so good. It's so good. And then there's other side characters that also have their own thing going on. Like, it is just, it's good. It's good. It's a story. It's a story. I really wish that the author would give us a companion novel to some of those side characters that will also keeping the book going. But, you know, she's still saying no, so, you know, it is what it is. Yeah, but that is one of the longest urban romance books I've ever read. But I'm not mad about it. I very much enjoyed it. Okay, so the next book I want to talk about, probably also going to come as no surprise to anyone, because as of the last few years, when we talk about super long historical fiction books, this book pretty much has to be part of the conversation, and that is going to be The Love Songs of W.E.B. Du Bois by Honoré Fannin Jeffers. And this one is clocking in at 790 pages. This is one that I absolutely did audio and physical reading. In this book, we are following Ailey and Ailey's family, the women in her family, as she traces her lineage, and we start to find out what has gone on with the women in this family, why they are the way they are. Ailey is getting stories of her ancestors. We are getting the stories as well. I just found this book to be everything that I needed it to be at the time. I wanted to get engrossed into a Black American family from the beginning. And I mean from the beginning. We are getting from indigenous people to, you know, through slavery, through everything we are getting in this book right here. You know, I could just imagine the amount of research and the time and the care that it took to go through to put this family together. And again, as I said in the beginning of the video, I was in this family for so long that I really felt like I was a part of the family, because a lot goes on in this book. So much goes on in this book. This is another one that I would say you probably want to read in increments, because there's a lot of trauma in this book, as you can imagine. So again, you know, once again, take care of yourself when you're reading certain books that have a lot of trauma, because I find that when I'm reading a book that has a lot of trauma, I tend to take that on, and trauma, just, you feel that in the body. You feel that in the body, and then you reading it and it's not even your trauma. This is a fictional character. So you just make sure you do what you need to do. Okay, but this book is a delight. I felt so accomplished when I finished reading it, and I get the same sentiments from a lot of people that read it, specifically Black women that read this book. A lot of Black women can resonate with this book. You know, it is amazing to read this book and to get Ailey's story and to follow her from when she's a young girl to when she becomes a young lady. You know, I felt like she was my younger sister, and it was just like, wow, I'm just watching you grow up. Like that's how long I was in this book. So, yeah, but it's definitely a brick of a book. So that's the trick, y'all. A little bit of audio, a little bit of, you know, physical reading, whatever works. Okay, and now we've come to the longest book on this list, and that is going to be Needful Nor by Takara Allen. This book is so long that you can't even get a full physical copy, like one book. When you get the physical copy of this, it's part 1 and part 2. Like, it's literally split into 2 books. But if you get the ebook, you can get, it's a full, you know, bind up of parts 1 and 2, which is what I like. Because give me everything. Give me everything. Alright, and that is how I read this book. I read it as an ebook on my Kindle, and this is another one that I did not want to end. I'm going to call this, and I'm not going to call this urban fiction either, because it's not. I don't feel like it is. Because urban fiction is more like, you know, shoot 'em up, urban environment, bodies dropping, all of the things, right? This is not that. This is not that. So I am going to kind of classify this as like fiction. I'm just gonna say it's fiction, okay? We meet a girl named Nor, and Nor she's had a rough life. She's had a extremely rough life. Her mom was very abusive to her and her brother, and Nor finally seems like she gets a break in life. Her best friend hooks her up with a job as a nurse to a very rich woman that is very sick. So Nor decides to come on as her nurse, even though she ain't got no credentials. But that's neither here nor there. She gets the job and she starts working as this woman's nurse. Now, this very rich woman, you know, she has a very fine husband and lovely children, and they are living a very good life. And Nor is kind of, you know, she's there, and she's also very attracted to the husband in this book. This book, I will say, not everyone is going to like it because they probably won't like the character. I know I didn't like Nor, but I still love this book. I am able to separate the characters from the actual writing and the story, and, you know, let that be what it is. Because I don't think every character is made for us to love them, right? And I think she was purposely written in a way to where it's a little gray. There's also like a suspenseful type of element to it. I wouldn't say thriller, but I would say there's a little bit of suspense in this book as well, because there's a lot of stuff that we don't know while we're reading this book, and things get revealed, and, you know, I love that. I love that. Now that I've showed y'all some of the big books that I personally really love, and I hope that you guys will give them a chance, I do want to run through some of the big books that I am very much looking forward to for the rest of the year, because I'm still reading them. I like big books. It makes me feel nice, especially when it starts to get a little bit chilly. Just like, I want to be engrossed. Okay, that's what I want. I want to be engrossed into a story. Okay, so I got about 8 of them, and I was just thinking, if I could bust out like 2 of them per month by the end of the year, y'all would not be able to tell me nothing. I'm gonna just say that. Y'all would not be able to tell me nothing. Okay, so The Luminaries by Eleanor Catton. Catton? I've always wanted to read this book. It's super long. It's super heavy. It's probably dense. Who knows? But I want to read this. I've wanted to read this book for many years now. This is not a fairly new book. Why can't I get to the page count? I just want to know how long this is. So, it's about 800 pages. Just about 800 pages. Alright? And I think this is, yes, this is a historical fiction. 1866, set in New Zealand. This won the Man Booker Prize. I don't know what year, but it won. So that tells me that, I don't know what it tells me, because books be winning prizes all the time, but I still want to read it. I want to read it. Also, The Final Strife by Sarah L. Arifi. This is a fantasy novel. This is book 1 in the fantasy series. Yes, and this one has roots in the mythology of Africa and Arabia. Book 3, the last book in the series, I think it's either, yeah, I think it's out right now. I think it literally just came out. So this is a great time for me to start this series. 577 pages. That's not too bad. And still, I want to read Hours by Philip B. Williams. This has been sitting on my shelf for a hot minute. I love this cover. I just like seeing it on my shelf. I really just do. I just love this cover so much with these black people on it. I did slightly start the audiobook a while back. Like a while back. When it first came out. I just literally just need to go back to it, start it again, and just do it. You know? Strange thing is, I have not seen that many people talking about this book. I have not, which is a little strange. I don't know what that means, but yeah, not too many people talking about this book. It could also be because it's very long. I notice with a lot of books, when they're very long, a lot of, you don't have that many people that are willing to pick it up and try it out, because it's a commitment. It definitely is a commitment, and I can understand that. But I'm up for the task. I'm up for the task. 576 pages. So, and this is, I'm pretty sure this is historical fiction. Yes, it is. Okay, what else? The Grace of Kings by Ken Liu, which is a Asian inspired fantasy. This is book 1 in the Dandelion Dynasty. I picked up this whole series when I was in Thailand, so I really want to at least finish book 1 this year. At least. I already started it. Can you believe that's only like 100 and something pages? Like, it's 100 something pages, but it's like it's barely nothing. It's just barely even a dent in this book. But I am loving, I'm reading it physically, and I'm also listening to the audiobook, and the audiobook is narrated by Michael Kramer, who I really enjoy his audiobook narrations, especially when he does fantasy. Well, actually, that's the only time I've ever heard him do a narration is fantasy. He has a very good fantasy voice. So, yeah, I think he could get me through the rest of this book. I really think that he can. I'm interested. The book is good. The book is good. It's just that I am reading this while reading so many other different things. So it's, I just have to buckle down. That's what it is. That's the key, is buckling down. Okay. I also want to read The Old Drift by Namwali Serpel. I'm gonna show y'all. I've been wanting to read this one for a hot minute, but then she had a new book come out. She had a new book come out, which was, oh, what was the name of her new book? I can't think of the name of it, but I wasn't really feeling it. And then I put it down, and then that kind of had me like, maybe she's not for me. But no, I thought about it, and I'm still going to give this book a chance, because I don't really see too many people talking about that latest book, which could possibly mean that people may feel the same way that I did. I ended up DNFing it. So I want to go to this one. I want to read this and see how I feel about it. It doesn't appear to be that long, but baby, it's long. It's long. 567 pages. So, And I then said I wanted to read this, The Covenant of Water by Abraham Verghese. I wanted to pick it up because it just appears to be a historical fiction epic saga. It's pretty much the gist of it, you know. It goes from 1900 to 1977, set in Kerala, India. This is another one that I slightly started on audiobook and did not get deeper in. I don't know why I keep like taste testing these damn audiobooks, and instead of just like, but I be trying to just check out like, how am I feeling about the narration? Is this a book that I'm even going to be interested in? You know, so I just like listen to a little bit, just like a little, like one chapter, just to see like how is the narration flowing, like how is it feeling for me. So that's why it appears as if I keep starting all these different books and I'm not ready for them, because I'm not ready for them. I'm reading something else, but then I might just say, you know what, let me just see, let me see if this is worth still keeping on my list, because I might listen to the audiobook for the first chapter and be like, ooh, what is this? You know, or that will let me know you can't read the audiobook for this one. When you're ready to read this long book, you gotta get your eyes together, because you're gonna be reading it for a while. Okay, I also want to read The Queen of Night by Alexander Chee. I've always wanted to read an Alexander Chee book. This one has really good reviews. This one came out a while back, actually. This is also 568 pages. I definitely want to read this one. And also The Amazing Adventures of Cavalier and Clay by Michael Chabon. I've always wanted to read one of his books, and this one, it just makes me feel like it's obviously going to be an adventure, and I love reading adventures, especially when it's two characters or a group of characters and they're going on an adventure for whatever reason. I love stories like that. So I'm curious to see how am I going to feel about this book. A lot of people love this book. A lot of people love this author. So I want to see what the hoopla is about. Okay, so my arms are killing me from all of the big books that I've been holding up throughout this video. So that is going to be it for this video. Let me know if you read any of the ones that I've talked about today. Let me know if I missed your genre and you want something specifically in your genre. I'm open to that as well, because, you know, these are not all the big books that I've read. These are just ones that I really enjoy, and I was trying to go in different genres to make sure I have a little something for everybody. So if you know somebody that is looking to get into reading big books, make sure you share this video with them. Like and subscribe if you have not already, and I will catch y'all here next Monday for more bookish content. Bye.